Hey, discounting. Everyone talks about it. And most sales leaders, sales experts, and even managers are like, no, we never discount. And I've had clients who tell me, oh, we never discount. And then I go, well, okay, let's go through a deal, the biggest deal you had last quarter. Okay, did they pay list price? Yep. And can I see the quote? Look at the quote and you go, well, what's this free training and this free extended warranty and premium service at standard service pricing? Well, that was to get the deal done. I go, that's discounting. Everyone talks about, oh no, you got to sell on value. Of course you sell on value. But at the end of the day, and you're doing large deals, you have to understand you're going to have to give and take, give to get. Quid pro quo. This is built into our DNA. Every culture has it, some more than others. You hear about other cultures where everything is negotiated. In big deals with big companies, everything is negotiated and negotiable, especially if they're in the same industry as you. Because when I sold enterprise software, there was no better buyer than another enterprise software company because they knew the game. They'd have the first line manager get a discount, the second line manager knock down the price, the third line manager throw in free training, the VP, he'd ask for 2 years of free support. You get to the CEO, he wants another 10 points. It gets to procurement, they want 5 points. That's the name of the game. Now, how do you play it? You first have to anticipate it because they're expecting it, and if you don't do it, it's just going to slow down and people get stubborn for no reason. And you lose momentum in the deal. You kind of have to build it in. That's why I always don't give real proposals, meaning send emails, send drafts, because until you're talking to that final person who, when they sign that purchase request, it goes to procurement. Procurement has no power other than to execute that. They can delay it a little, but you have to anticipate that too, that any concession you give requires the exact PO by a date, not the last day of the month. You got to play this game because otherwise you're being played. So discounting it, whatever you call it, quid pro quo, it is natural. It's anticipated. The sales experts who say, don't ever do it. And it's like, I sell services, right? And I don't discount the service, but people always want a little more. They want, oh, can we build in some phone calls into it? Can we do this? And it's like, you try and pull all that stuff out at the beginning, but it always kind of creeps in there. In a kind of way, I want to do that to keep the momentum and the deal going and the relationship building. So you just have to anticipate it. Everything that happens, write it down. So that's number one. Expect it. Predict for it. Number two is quid pro quo. You always have to give to get. And if you want something, giving first will anticipate, build up that need for them to reciprocate. Number two, that was number two. Number three is predict it. They expect it. You have to expect it. And you got to understand, don't give formal proposals that are binding to people who cannot execute. You give them a nice draft at list price. They ask for a discount and go, we can work something out, but what my manager doesn't let me give you any discount until we're talking to, at least a vice president. And then we can set up that call. So what you want to do is kind of skip some of the first bloodlettings of the discount process, the pound of flesh that you have to give to each person. And believe me, I've been through this. And the bigger the deals, the harder it is because everyone's asking for it and everyone's trained to do it because it's fun. It's kind of fun to torture people because they know, especially when you have a high margin business like software or like anything that's high margin. If it's services, people kind of get it. You got to pay the person. You got to make some kind of margin so that they understand that getting a point or two or a free day here or there, or extra phone support. They understand that the margin isn't as much, and they get it. But if it's high margin, where it's basically costing you, $0 to give them a CD or access to a website, they know that it's nearly 99% profit, and they know that they can get a little bit more, and if they buy bigger, and this is the tool of the quid pro quo is what do you want? You want it faster, you want it bigger, you want it known that the deal can happen. How do you get it known? You get the people who approve it involved, and not try and work through people who do not have the political juice to make it happen. And they all say they do. And you'd be surprised how high these things go. I keep telling the story. I did a $2 million deal. And, I was talking to the CEO, my CEO, their CEO, same room. We're all there. Procurement is in the room. He signs the purchase request. And he turns around and he goes, oh, let me just call the board and get approval for this. And we all looked at each other like, we never thought of that. That this is the level. And it's like, okay, you can't, go make a sales call to the board, right? Because now you're relying on him. So, and what we did was we say, well, before you call him, let's explain, the top 3 reasons why you're doing it. So he could articulate it very clearly and concisely, and we could kind of prep him to talk to his board. And yeah, it went through, and usually it's just a check. But what if that board member goes, well, I've never heard of this company. Let me check them out, and add a week or two to it to add value. This is all these unknowns. And even when you give that deadline, expect it's going to slip. And when it does slip, you got to expect what can you get in exchange for it to extend that pricing. And keep saying, well, things have changed. Things change on your end, things change on our end. And the other things. Have other things in your pocket that you can give that don't affect your commission. Maybe it's premium support. Maybe it's an extra 6 months of support. Maybe it's a free this or a free that or a ticket to this or some other thing that doesn't affect you financially. And have that in your mind so you can pull it out. Come up with 3 of them. Tickets to a trade show. A free webinar, some kind of training or something that doesn't affect you that you can give to get the order that you want. Hope this has been helpful. Check out the show notes. Connect with me on LinkedIn. Join the Maverick Sellers group on LinkedIn to get the 2 free ebooks. Get the Maverick Selling Method on Audible free to the link in the show notes. All my offers are in there. Just tap the artwork. It shows up. Click the link and go. And that's it. Really appreciate you listening. Keep the questions coming. We'll see you soon.